Put up your dukes, I'm talking about Kung Fu. Today I review the trailer for the 2021 reboot of Kung Fu, starring Olivia Liang, coming up next. Alright, so the 2021 reboot of Kung Fu starring Olivia Liang. Now, I don't know whether it's Liang or Liang in terms of her first name. It's spelled L-I-A-N-G. And myself, I tend to spell names that are spelled like that, L-I-A-N-G, with a short A. I could be wrong. It could be Liang. I'm not sure. But before we get into the Kung Fu reboot trailer review, let me introduce myself. My name is Leigh Dickey, comedian, actor, producer, reviewer, and the guy that's going to review this Kung Fu reboot trailer right here and right now. Before we get into that, please do subscribe to Lee Dickey TV, the YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, visit my official website, leightdickey.com. Subscribe to and download both my podcasts, the Beats and Speaks podcast and Yo Nostalgia, on your favorite podcast app and player of choice. Please do leave us a review and a 5-star rating if you would, please. And thank you. Follow the fun on social media at Leigh Dickey. All the links and information you will need for this episode and every other episode that I put up on this Lee Dickey TV YouTube channel and my official website, leightdickey.com, are down in the show notes and description down below. Alright, now that all the housekeeping is out of the way, let's get on to this Kung Fu reboot series trailer review right here and right now. Alright, so this Kung Fu reboot TV series trailer. Like I said, it is a reboot or a reimagining of Kung Fu, the television series from the 70s, and even like a continuation or a follow-up to the movies, and the series from the 90s, Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, which starred the late David Carradine. Now, where I come in to say the Kung Fu series of things is I first discovered it while watching Kung Fu: The Legend Continues with David Carradine. Now, the series itself originally was broadcast in first-run syndication from 1993 through the beginning of 1997. I saw it rerun. I think it reran because it was 4 seasons. I'm not sure how many episodes, but 4 seasons in syndication, and I think I saw it rerun at least up here in Canada until sometime when I was in high school, maybe even as late as the 11th grade for me. So that would have been like 2005, 2006, or maybe it was somewhere within like those first 3 years of high school where it went off the air, and I haven't seen it since. So it was somewhere between like, say, late 2003 and mid 2006. It was somewhere in there. But I do remember watching the show Kung Fu: The Legend Continues in syndication as a kid growing up. Maybe not when it was first in syndication, but perhaps later, like, in the mid to late 90s and into the early to mid 2000s. I'm just not sure how the syndication kind of worked up here. Like, they did have affiliates all over the U.S. Like, when I was a kid, we had, and it ran on, I think it was the Primetime Television Network, something like that. But when I was a kid, up until I think I was about, in high school, I had access to the Fox 29 out of Buffalo. We got a satellite dish when I was probably about 9, and which then gave us the Fox affiliate out of Rochester, which Kung Fu: The Legend Continues aired on both those Fox affiliates. It aired all over the place, in the U.S. at least, so I think that's where I saw, say, Kung Fu: The Legend Continues at first. It may have been, something like UPN or WGN, I don't know, because I also had access to those 2 stations as a kid growing up, and even into, like, high school, say. But I can't be sure. I do know that I did see, like, Kung Fu: The Legend Continues as a kid and into my teens. And I did like it, you know. So for this to be a reboot and a reimagining starring Olivia Liang, it's going to debut the reboot, the reimagining series whose trailer I'm reviewing right now is going to debut April 7th on the CW. I think from what I gather, it's going to be a rather short season, so like 10 episodes. And I think that's what the CW normally does. It has a specific audience, and they're doing a lot of reboots these days anyway. I mean, Superman and Lois, it's another reimagining of Superman. And then you have the Walker Texas Ranger reboot, which I think by the time you guys see this, it will probably be 6 episodes deep, maybe 7. So, you know, a lot of reboots these days, and this is another one starring Olivia Liang or Liang in the sort of lead protagonist role, and it's going to debut April 7th on the CW. Of course, I will leave a link to the trailer for the 2021 reboot of Kung Fu in the description and in the cards, so you guys can watch this for yourselves. Now, as I keep saying, the series stars Olivia Liang or Liang, however you pronounce her last name. I've probably butchered it 1,000 times already, and I'm probably going to bounce between both pronunciations throughout this entire video, so forgive me. She stars as Nikki Chen, who's going through a quarter-life crisis and just doesn't want to be, wants to discover who she is and is a college dropout. I think, you know, her character doesn't want to go to law school anymore, and she goes home to tell her family that. They all start laughing, but, you know, she's been training. The trailer opens up with the Nikki Chen character training at this temple, I'm assuming overseas, and her master or instructor basically says, for you to master, and I'm paraphrasing, but she says it in the trailer, but, you know, she pretty much tells her to be a master of Kung Fu, you must make peace with your family. And she's just like, look, peace and my family don't necessarily go together. So then you cut to a shot in the trailer of like this suburban house where the Nikki Chen character and her entire family are meant to live. Like, Nikki Chen returns home and basically tells her family, I don't want to go to law school anymore. They all laugh at her. Now, you know, in this scene where they're all around a table having like dinner or a meal, and Nikki says, look, I don't want to go to law school anymore, I think I'm done, and they all start laughing. The patriarch of, say, the Chen family, the character's name is Jin Chen, is portrayed by actor Si Ma, and he was Consul Han in Rush Hours 1 and 3, because when they cut to a shot of him, I was like, I know him from somewhere, like, and I just said that's Consul Han from Rush Hour. So he was in Rush Hour 1 and 3. He's also in RoboCop 2. He's had roles on LA Law, NYPD Blue. He's been on TV and in film since like the 70s. He was in the original MacGyver, I think, in like 1989. So, I mean, that's probably one of the most recognizable faces, at least in this trailer and probably throughout this series, that I'm going to recognize. You guys that are watching this and that watch the trailer will probably recognize other people. To be fair, like, I know that Ludi Lin, who was in the 2017 Power Rangers movie, has a recurring role in this series, and that's the only other name that I recognize. So, I mean, there's probably going to be more of you that watch this review and the trailer that recognize more names. You've got Gwendolyn Yeo, who is the main antagonist. She plays an assassin of sorts. And you have, is it Stenhouse? I can't remember the guy's first name. But he plays Evan Hartley, an assistant district attorney who I apparently went out with Leong's character and he still has feelings for her. So I think it's Grant Stenhouse. I think that's his name. And he plays the Evan Hartley character, who apparently used to go out with Liang's Nikki Chen character. He still has feelings for her, and, you know, she explains, like, a situation, like, hey, look, there was a girl, she was in trouble, I had to step in and basically had to kick ass, which is what you see throughout the trailer. It's a lot of, like, martial arts action scenes. It's a lot of, like, Liang's Nikki Chen kicking ass and, you know, just throwing guys around. Like I say with all of these, like, trailer reviews, I will at least watch the pilot. And again, I want this series to do well. Like, I'm a fan of Kung Fu, the series with David Carradine. Like, as I said, I came into Kung Fu around, you know, The Legend Continues in the 90s, and I think I saw it, like I said, right up until maybe the mid-2000s when it finally went out of syndication. And there was I didn't even realize this, but researching this a little bit, there was a television sort of movie that was meant to be a backdoor pilot. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it actually starred Brandon, the late Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son, in the title role, which I thought was pretty cool. And, you know, so Liang's character explains to this Evan Hartley, look, there was a girl, she was in trouble, I stepped in and basically had to kick ass. And that's a lot of what you see. Like, she's just trying to figure out life now that she's back in town. It's set in the U.S., even though it was shot, like, this series was shot, or is shot, in Langley, British Columbia, apparently. So, I mean, that's cool. I mean, she's back in town, and she's just trying to figure out life after going through, like, this quarter-life crisis. You're just trying to figure everything out. It looks, you know, it looks badass. It looks cool. It looks like a typical CW show. It looks like a typical sort of martial arts centered action show. I'm looking forward to it. Like, I will at least watch the pilot. I can't necessarily knock it, man. It's a quick, like, 1-minute trailer, and sure, things are gonna, like, you're gonna see corny things, and some things you may not like, some things you may like. To be honest, I'm trying to stay positive through everything, and I'm just, like, I like the trailer. It's short. It gives you basically what this show is about, and, like, I'm looking forward to the pilot. You know, it debuts on April 7th on the CW, and I'm just looking forward to, you know, martial arts action, some ass kicking, and maybe even some comedy and a little drama thrown in. It's like that. It's your typical show. I will say that after watching this trailer, I can sort of see, like, similarities between this Kung Fu reboot trailer and the Equalizer reboot trailer, which was actually renewed for a second season by CBS. And, you know, by the time you guys see this, I'm probably going to put this up on Monday, and you'll see my video on the Equalizer getting renewed on Wednesday, but I will probably have both of those produced by the time this goes up, so I'll link that in the description if you want to see it, and I'll link my review to the Equalizer trailer in the description and in the cards as well. But, as I say, right, like, I will at least watch the pilot. The trailer looks cool. There's a lot of martial arts, a lot of action, a lot of moving parts. There's a bit of everything, you know. It's a reboot, and, you know, I necessarily don't like reboots, but I will at least give it a shot. Like, not a lot of things I'm going to be a fan of, but I was a fan of Kung Fu The Legend Continues. Didn't have a problem with David Carradine. I don't even have a problem with, you know, this reboot. It just, you know, it's a typical, like, let's have a lot of action. It's a highly fast-paced. There's a little romance, a little drama, a little comedy, a bit of everything. Some familiar faces, just a couple that I know. You may know a few more. But if you've watched the trailer, you can check it in the comments and description, or in the description and in the cards if you wish. But if you've seen the trailer, let me know what you think in the comments below. Follow along on social media at Leigh Dickey. Subscribe here to Lee Dickey TV on YouTube. Please do visit my official website, leighdickie.com. Subscribe and download both my podcasts, the Beats and Speaks podcast and Yo Nostalgia, on your favorite podcast app and player of choice. Leave us a review and a 5-star rating if you would, please, and thank you. Now, this wraps up another video on Lee Dickey TV, the YouTube channel, and my review of the Kung Fu Reboot TV series trailer. I hope you did enjoy it. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. Of course, I've been Lee Dickey. This has been another episode. Thanks again for watching. Please do take care, and we will talk to you all again very, very soon. Peace!